All right, so another webinar. Um, it's May. This year has gone by super fast.
Yeah.
But happy Cinco de Mayo to everybody. It's late Cinco de Mayo, but I guess still counts. But anyway, so yeah. So you had your marathon last weekend.
Yeah,
Sounds
finally
like
done
that
with
was
that.
super fun.
Yeah, I met my goal of under 4 hours, so that was good. But I can't even begin to tell you how glad I am to not have to run anymore. The
Yeah.
training was the worst part.
Yeah, I met my goal of 8 hours of sleep. So
Yeah.
there's that. But yeah, you do that. I do my PT. But anyway, so all right, well, cool. So today we're talking about our latest blog about marketing automation, and we've got some company updates and some questions. So we're going to try to keep this under an hour, and we'll see how we do. But let's just jump into some of the company updates and more of the platform updates. I guess we should talk about those, not necessarily company updates. But all right, so what do we got going here? Let's see.
Yeah.
So bulk delete, I guess that's one of the big ones. We talked about that last week. Is coming online soon. Looks like that will be today or tomorrow. It's done. It's tested. It's ready to go. We just have some other things that we're doing at the same time, so we held off on pushing that until we get some one other task done, and that other task is the RSS campaigns. So we pulled RSS campaigns out because we didn't like the performance of it. We just didn't like how it worked and felt like we needed to do a better job than what we did. And so we now have a new way to do RSS campaigns. And so we've kind of built that out, and we're on the tail end of that, just finishing up some last minute coding tasks. And then we're going to test that, make sure everything is good to go. And then we're going to be releasing the bulk delete and the RSS stuff at the same time, along with some performance improvements that we've done in the system. And trying to think if there's anything else that's going to be released. Can you think of
No,
anything else?
I think that's mostly it. But
All
this will
right.
be for people that have been wanting to delete contacts in bulk. This will be a very nice update for you guys. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So
and our
whether you're
system.
deleting like one or 100,000, please don't delete 100,000. I mean, come on. But if you have to, I guess you have to. But yeah, whether you delete one or 100,000, it'll now work with the new stuff. So 100,000 may take a little while to delete though. But
Yeah, it's a lot of data just go away.
yeah. So well, we're making sure that with the deletes that your reports and everything else that kind of counts things based on the contacts and stuff, all that will still work. So that's the good thing. So we're making sure everything is good to go and it deletes properly. But um, yeah, so that'll be released, like I said, today or tomorrow, probably tomorrow, but we'll see. We may be able to get it done today. We just don't like to release things late in the day because we also, like you, like to sleep. And, but if there's support tickets or something, we have to get up, then we have to get up. But we just want to make sure that everything goes smooth and we're ready to go. So if it gets too late in the day, then it'll probably be tomorrow. But again, transparency is what we're about. So we're giving you up to the minute stuff on what we're doing there.
Yeah.
So then see another thing in the list about Microsoft. I'll let you kind of go over that.
Yeah, so this is kind of something that's been coming up that Microsoft talked about a couple months ago. But Microsoft talked about implementing the same email authentication standards that Gmail and Yahoo did, where if you're over 5,000 if you're sending to over 5,000 contacts in a single day, then they require DMARC, DKIM, and SPF to be set up, and if not, they're just automatically going to reject that email. So Microsoft jumped on that and hopped on board with that as well. So as of yesterday, May 5th, Microsoft is also requiring that. So just something to keep in mind. Just make sure to review your domain settings to make sure it's all configured. But yeah, if you're sending to over 5,000 contacts a day and you don't have those records set up, you'll start seeing a ton more bounces from Microsoft.
Yeah. Well, luckily with ours, I mean, nobody has really a choice.
Yeah.
it's a requirement to have that stuff set up. So,
Yeah, it's
um,
more just don't go and change your DNS records after configuring it.
yeah,
So
that's one thing
that's
we've
the
kind
main
of
thing.
run into is people do the stuff that they're supposed to do that we show them, add these things to your DNS, and then they add them, they verify it, and then they go delete it. And then you can't send a campaign because we're going to do a check before we send a campaign and make sure it's all good to go.
Yep.
So, yeah, so don't do that. Make sure you have those records in there and leave them there. It doesn't hurt anything to keep them there. So might as well just leave them there. That way everything goes really smooth. Yeah, so the other thing we're working on, this won't be like today or tomorrow. We're starting to work on CRM integration. So that'll be the other piece that is coming online here, hopefully soon. So we're actively looking at the different CRM partners that we're going to be integrating with. So if you have suggestions, please let us know. If there's a CRM that you really, really want us to integrate with first, then let us know either on a roadmap. You can put in a wish list item there. You can email support, or yeah, I guess those two areas are probably the best place.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're looking at we kind of have a strategy in place for this. So we have some bigger ones that we're doing, and we have some smaller ones that we're doing for various different reasons. So we've got a couple CRMs that we're doing, but first thing before the CRM. So once we release this bulk delete and the RSS stuff, the next thing we're going to be doing is the inbound webhook. That way, Gravity Forms and WP Forms and many different form systems that you could be using in WordPress or Webflow or any other platform that you're using to build your website. A lot of those have webhook integration, so you can just push data through a webhook. So we're going to have that built in. That way you can minimize how much you have to use a third-party integrator like Zapier or Make or BoostSpace. So we're going to be working on that first. So if all goes well, it's Tuesday. So if all goes well, we should have that released either late this week or early next week. And then the CRM stuff is going to be coming online here after that. So we're going to be CRM integrations. I guess I should clarify that. So CRM integration. So we're not going to don't look to Tarvent as your sales CRM. We have marketing CRM. So I will say we have marketing CRM type capabilities. So we can manage contacts and you can have notes and some different things. But I stay away from saying we have sales CRM because we don't. We don't have deals. We don't have some of the organizational structure that we would need to have as far as companies and contacts and whatnot. That will be coming in the future. But for right now, we're leaving it as a marketing CRM. And, a lot of you guys already are using other CRM platforms. So once we can build that in, so we can hopefully save you some money by using one solution instead of two, we will do that. But we're first an email marketing platform, and that's what we want to make sure that we have solid and we have some great integrations with first, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah.
This next one, I'm going to let you go over it because you've been kind of looking at this anyway. So,
Yeah. Yeah, and one thing I wanted to add onto the CRM thing is just, you'll notice a common trend with our webinars where we're asking for a lot of feedback, and that's just because that's how we want to build the company. Just no matter how big we are or how much we grow, we always want it to be centered on what the customer wants. So that's why you'll always hear us ask for feedback, and that's just with the CRM integration. We just want to make sure we're building what you guys need and not what we think you guys need. So that feedback is super invaluable to us, and just please send it our way.
We're not investor driven, so we're 100% customer driven.
Yeah.
So
We're
we
sweat
don't
equity driven.
Yeah, lots of sweat. So
lots of sweat and little sleep.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. So, we need that feedback. So otherwise we're just going to guess and hope we guess right. Based on what my wife thinks, I don't know if I guess right all the time. I'm pretty sure I don't.
Yeah.
But Well, we're gonna try. So it's up to you guys to give us your feedback on it. So we definitely would appreciate that. But
Yeah.
so anyway, so yeah, next item on here, I've got my cheat sheet, but
Yeah,
so,
I'll go over it.
yeah,
So I've been doing a little bit of research into this because it's something that's come up with support quite a bit, and also on our wish list. There's quite a few upvotes for this integration, and that's with Active Pieces. So Active Pieces is kind of, if you haven't heard of it before, it's like an open source version of Zapier or Make. So they've made a lot of noise recently just due to their integration with AI, and there's a new protocol called MCP, which is just a basically ways for APIs to integrate with AIs and AIs to integrate with each other. So they've been big in the space for that. So anyways, I've looked into integrating with them, and I've started to play around with that integration. So yeah, it's kind of on the side. We have no ETA for when this integration will be ready, but we are starting to work on the integration with Active Pieces. So
yeah,
sometime down the pipeline, you guys will see that integration done. But I just wanted to let you guys know that we're looking into it and we are starting to work on it. So good
yeah. At
news.
least the nice thing is we get to do that integration. It's not like some of the other
Yep.
ones where we have to wait for them to build the integration. Um, But we do have some of those where they built the integration and it's worked out pretty well. Pabbly has been one of them that has worked out nicely. But it's always nice to work on our timeline versus theirs.
Oh yeah,
So
100%.
yeah,
And
but
it's open source, much easier to implement certain things.
yeah, from what I hear, it's all TypeScript, so it's pretty
Yep.
easy to get in there and do stuff. So yeah, we'll have that integration hopefully sooner rather than later. I would expect probably no more than a couple weeks, but I mean, we'll see. I mean, we've done
Yeah.
so much of these integrations, these third-party integrations, or these integrators. We've worked so much with them in the past, so we've kind of got a lot of things already built. So now it's just a matter of getting that in for active pieces. So yeah, we'll be working on that. And MCP, we've got some thoughts on that, but
Yeah.
yeah, we'll see how that ends up going. But we're definitely well aware of this stuff. So if any of you guys are wondering if we're clueless about AI, we're definitely not. Heck, my background, I used to do AI and wrote that from scratch. OpenAI didn't exist back then. That definitely kind of shows my age. But yeah, writing AI and Lisp was the language that we used. So yeah, I've written AI from scratch and neural networks and all that sort of fun stuff. So definitely familiar with AI. But anyway, so it's kind of what we're working on right now. So we are definitely not sitting around doing nothing. We're answering support tickets as fast as possible. I think we're keeping up pretty well on the support tickets, and so far our happiness rating from support has been outstanding. So we're going to keep trying to do that, and as we grow, that's something we're going to always keep in mind. But anyway, so all right, so those are kind of the updates that we got going on. So then kind of want to jump into the blog, and this blog, it's kind of it's a new topic. So we have a whole series of blogs going out about marketing automation that we're working on. And it's kind of a good one because I mean we see a lot of people in our system using automation. It's one of the reasons that companies are moving over to us is because we have a really strong automation platform. And again, we're on, you guys, every one of you are on the everything plan. So with that everything plan, you get all the features. So it makes it kind of nice. So you can use this marketing automation. It doesn't cost you anything more. And it actually costs you less. And we'll go over why it costs you less. But anyway, so the first blog that we've got in this series is 5 signs that your business is ready for marketing automation. And man, I mean, I think a lot of these, because I talk to companies and a lot of them are intimidated about automation. They hear automation. It's just, I don't know if it's because there's so many syllables in the word. I have no idea. But I guess it sounds like a techie word, so it seems intimidating, but it's really not that intimidating to get into. They're just a series of steps. So you just have triggers. That just tells our system what to listen for that adds a person to a journey or an automation. And so you listen to that automation, or you listen to those triggers, and then you have different steps. And so you have actions like sending an email, and then you have flow control, like if then logic and decision splits. So you can make a decision, and based on the answer to that decision, you can go down different paths. So there's a lot of different things you could do within there, but there's three main types of steps. So you've got triggers, both entry and exit, and then you have your actions and your flow control, just to control which path they go down. So if you only have one path, totally fine. In fact, if you're just getting started in automation, walk before you run. It's always a good idea, because it's like back in the day when it was just campaigns, sending out a campaign. You'd get, at least for me, I guess I'm not talking for everybody, but at least for me, I kind of get stressed out before I click that send button, because when you click that send button, it's going to send out an email to hopefully thousands and thousands of people. Well, if you did something wrong, you're going to embarrass yourself in front of thousands and thousands of people. So, with automation, it's a little bit different, because it's per person. So you could change these automations while they're a bit different. So anyway, so I guess on that, so Derek, one of the, I'm assuming on the support side, I mean, I know we talk about support and stuff, but
Yeah.
what's probably the first things you look for when people are asking you questions for, what? Automation is where you need to go.
Yeah.
The first
So I think,
question.
well, yeah. So the number one thing that I think comes up, well, not that I think, that does come up, is form signups. So I get several questions in support to say, oh, so I have my form on my website, and how do I send them an email once they fill out the form? And then once they get that first email, then how do I tag them, or how do I add them to a group, or whatever else needs to happen after they fill out that form? And so as soon as someone asks that question, that's when the thing goes off in my head, like, yeah, you need to start using automation. So when they ask that question, I always recommend that they start using a journey, because you can trigger a journey based on a form submission. So then once that journey is triggered on the form submit, then you can send them an email, you can add a tag to them, you can add them to a group, send them another email, and then whatever else. But I'd say the number one scenario that comes up in support is just, once someone signs up using my form, what happens next, and like how to do that process. And a lot of people, they just don't, automation doesn't come to mind as like the first thing they should do. The first thing comes to mind is just, how do I send them one single email? But in reality, once someone signs up, you want to have like an onboarding process or a welcome journey, just kind of get them acclimated to what emails you're going to send them.
I mean, I think the forms is definitely the first one, like within our system. The other one that I think comes up a lot, people are asking, how do I copy a campaign? So I need to send this campaign out again. So like talking about like an onboarding process, if you're saying, okay, every week send this campaign out to all my new customers, because this is like the first email to welcome them to your product or service or your company. If you're always sending that out once a week, or several times a week, to pick up all the new people that joined, perfect example of when you would start wanting to use automation. And that automation could be just two steps. You have an entry trigger, which is when a contact is added. So you listen for when a contact is added, and then you send them an email. So as soon as a person is added, the email is sent out. So that's a really, really, really simple automation. It's only, you have a trigger, and then you have an action step. So, but the nice thing about it is that email is sent to them right when they sign up, or maybe you have a wait step between it. So they sign up, you wait an hour, and then so any number of different ways that you want to set that up. But that's a very, very simple automation to use, and you don't have to worry about catching all the people that signed up yesterday, and I need to send out an email today to all those people. You can just let automation do it. So, and that's where I get in, like I told you before, it's actually cheaper to use auto now instead of using your time to do these emails. You set it up once, and then our system do your business to sending out these emails. So it's kind of the nice thing about automations, or that's one of
Yeah.
the biggest benefits of it, is it frees up your time, and it also makes sure that you deliver content to your users exactly when they need it, not when you decide to send it. So it's all based on, typically it's going to be based on their activity that they're doing. So like,
Yeah.
lead generation with those forms. Oh, my bad.
No, you're good. I think just so you guys, I want to apologize if there's any sort of delay between Jason and I. There seems like there's a little bit of a lag with the connection. So if there's some awkward silences or like pauses, we apologize. There's just some connection issue going on. But yeah, I just wanted to add on to some of the previous stuff. Just yeah, because I mean, we're as Tarvent, we also run into this issue of identifying when we can start automating certain things. And sometimes we'll be so stuck in our process of doing something that we completely forget, like, hey, we can actually automate this, so we don't have to keep doing this over and over and over. And so, I mean, a perfect example is like our blog emails or some certain event that's going on. It's like all those emails can be triggered based off of automation where you don't need to say every week, I need to send out an email to remind people that I posted a blog. That should be something that's automated, which once RSS campaigns are ready, that'll be something that we're automating. But anyway, so it's just, you got to take a step back sometimes, realize what you're doing. And if it's super repetitive, then ask yourself, can it be automated? And if so, why aren't you doing it? So, and a lot of people also say, like, once you automate, then it takes away from like the personal factor of whatever you're trying to do. And that's true to a certain extent, but with the tools available now and with what we have in Tarvent, you can really personalize your automation experience. So between adding merge tags into the content, whether it's the first name or dynamic content based on their interests, or even in a journey, you can use a decision split. So based on what the interests of your contacts are, they might go down completely different paths of that journey. Because if someone's interested in skiing, for example, and another person's interested in mountain biking, then you probably don't want to send them the same emails. You probably want to send skier emails and then mountain biker emails. And so with our automations, you can easily do that using decision splits and just using the groups within your audience. So
Yeah.
just some additional things to think about. But yeah, the number one thing is just pay attention to what you're doing. And if it's super repetitive, then just keep asking yourself, is there some way I can automate this? Because time is money, and that'll save you a ton of time.
Yep. Yeah. If you're running a campaign calendar for like an onboarding series of emails, don't do that. Just use automations for it, because you can run. I mean, we have that in Tarvent. If you sign up in Tarvent, we use our own platform quite heavily. So if you sign up for a trial, then you get started in a journey for new customers, and we send you a bunch of different emails that kind of help acclimate you to Tarvent, so you actually know what our platform provides. So we try not to keep those. We try not to make those emails too salesy, because that's just not how. That's not our vibe. So we like to provide as much information as possible, but we don't want to dump everything on you at once. So that's where these, series of emails to give you little bits at a time. So hopefully you can retain the information, and we're not just, unloading every feature our system has, because it'll take forever to tell you. And you probably don't want to know right now, because you're just getting acclimated. So that's, if you've got that calendar of all those series of emails that you have to remember to send out, use automation. It's the easiest thing ever to do. And once you set it up and you click that start button, it's done. And it listens, runs 24/7. It never takes a break, and never takes vacation, no sick days, nothing, no PTO. So, it's a good thing to have, and it just makes your job a lot easier. Um, and like I talked about, the time management, that's I would say that's one of the number one things, because that hits your bottom line. So if you are spending a lot of time sending email, let's look at ways to automate that. You can always reach out to support, ask questions, tell us what you're doing. Try to be as specific as you can. Sometimes we get emails saying, "Hey, I need to start automating my emails. What do I do?" Well, we're going to need to know a little bit more than just that. So, give us some detail about your, so so we know what you're doing, and then from there we can kind of give you some direction on that, give you some strategy, and we can work that automation works. So, let's see what else we got here. I think that, like Daryl, the biggest question is ask yourself, are you doing anything repetitive? And if you are, look at automation. And if our automation system can't do it, don't just get frustrated. Get on support and let us know, hey, I this, but your system can't do it. Can you add that in? We are more than okay with adding new features in. Now, if it's only a feature that you want and nobody else in the world's going to use, we may still add it, but timelines might be a little bit different. But we do custom development for people, and we'll add in features that only certain accounts can see. So there's a lot of things that we can do within Tarvent. You just have to let us know. Sky's the limit. We can't make this thing like something you'd see on Star Trek or Star Wars or The Matrix or any of that kind of stuff. So, sky's the limit, not universe. But anyway, so, there's a lot we could do, but you just have to ask the question, and just never assume that we won't do it. Just assume that we probably will do it and ask. So, and in the area of asking, I guess we could jump down. Well, did you have any other input on the blog?
Oh yeah, just one thing I wanted to wrap up with, and just adding on to that personalized experience, is just, if you think about it, automation is it tends to be much more personal because it's customer driven. So where if you were to send a welcome sequence out to all the new contacts that sign up within the last week, all those contacts are going to get the emails at the same time. Or if you had an automation set up based on a form submission, then those people are going to get the emails as soon as they did a certain action. So just another thing to think about when you're thinking about automations, and just how it adds to a personalized factor instead of taking away. But yeah, I just wanted to wrap up with that.
Yeah. So, all right, just move on to some of the questions we got. So, we got a few questions. Still one question, only one, but one question came up about sending domains. So, that one, I figure that's going to be one of the areas, because it is so technical. So that's going to be one of those areas that we knew was going to come up time and time again. And we're working on some additional steps that we could do to make it easier. But anyway, this one's a fairly easy question. So people will have their base domain. So we're going to use tarvent.com as an example. So the question is, can I use my base domain and a subdomain for two different sending domains? So what the base domain is that would be tarvent.com. And the subdomain would be something like email.tarvent.com. So those are the two domains. So you could set those up. Technically, you could set both of those up within our system, and it works okay. And I say okay because the issue with that is going to be on the DKIM signing. So on DKIM signing, with how our system works, and how our MTAs, or mail transfer agents, or our mail servers, how they work and how they sign email, you can run into some issues. So what we always tell people, for one, you rarely, extremely rare, should you ever use your base domain. So like in our case, tarvent.com. Unless you know exactly what you're doing and how to set that up correctly, we would highly advise that you never, ever use your base domain. Now, if your base domain is in some of the larger marketing companies and enterprises out there do this, they'll create a domain just for a specific marketing campaign. So if that is your case, then you can use the base domain and you have no problem because your corporate email isn't at all associated with that domain. So that would be like, we have tarvent.com as our domain, but if we came out with another domain, maybe it's Tarvent is great. I don't know. Tarvent is great.com. So that domain, we're not sending any corporate email from there. So now we can use that base domain and we can set up all the records and we can do different things with that base domain. However, in most cases, 99% of the time, people aren't doing that. So we suggest never ever using your base domain, always use a subdomain. And so even in those, if you have a microsite, I guess I could have used that term, but if you have a microsite like tarvetisgreat.com, if that was a microsite that you had just for a specific marketing purpose, still do email.tarvetisgreat.com or e.tarvetisgreat.com, something as a subdomain. So that's just a question that's come up because people were using their base domain, but then they wanted to set it up where they're getting the best DMARC alignment, which again, this gets into all the technical stuff. But your DK aligned, your SPF aligned, and you want everything to be correct so you get the best email authentication signatures you can, so you get the best deliverability you can. But when you do that on a base domain, especially when you're using your base domain for email, like your normal corporate email, then that's going to cause some problems. So we say to stay away from it unless you're a DNS guy and you know exactly how to set it up. Our system will support it. We don't show you how to do it in there, but our system will support validating base domains that do complicated stuff. But we just don't suggest doing that unless you know exactly what you're doing and you're well aware of the complexities that come with that. Did I miss anything on there?
I just wanted to add, we are going to add stuff to the UI to make it so you can't use your base domain if you're using a sending or a subdomain, just because it causes issues with our system for authenticating your email. So yeah, I just wanted to stress the fact that you should not have your base domain and a subdomain set up as sending domains at the same time because it will cause authentication issues. So if that's the case, just disable your base domain as a sending domain and only use your subdomain.
Yeah, like what Derek said, you can have your base domain and your subdomain in there, but your base domain do not have sending enabled. You can use that for tracking. So if you're going to have website or you're going to use our system for site tracking and site messaging, then you can set that up. Just don't enable the sending for your base domain. Your subdomains, you can enable the sending. So, and that's just an option. You'll add the domain and then you can enable sending and you can enable site tracking. So on your base domain, just do not enable sending.
Yeah.
So second question, I'll let you take that one because I think you just answered this recently.
Yeah. So the question was, my imported contacts didn't trigger the contact added or the added to group journey trigger. Why is that? So right now, contacts added through imports won't trigger journeys. So it won't, if you have a contact added trigger, or if you have the contact event trigger and you have added to group or tag added or whatever other contact event, if those events happen through an import, it won't trigger a journey just due to how many contacts can be imported through a single import at one time, and just our system would be over flooded with events. And so right now we don't support triggering a journey based off of contacts that are added via import. So that was just a question that came up because that was the expectation, was they added contacts to a group through an import, but it didn't trigger their journey that was listening to added to group. But that's why. It's just because contacts added through import don't trigger journey events right now.
Yeah, not right now. Our system can actually handle it just fine, but we just didn't add it in because we had very little requests for that, and in most cases, people didn't want it. And so we just turned it off. But what we're going to be doing is adding that ability in and letting you control, does it add those events or does it not? So that's going to be one of the things that we add in for the import process a little bit later. But it is kind of a low priority right now, just in case or unless you guys go in and upvote that in our roadmap. That will make it a higher priority, so we know. This is a fun one, and I know this is another one that you've been working on. So I'm going to let you handle this. But the question is why do I see some of my emails were blocked? For example, emails going to Hotmail.
Yeah. So this is the fun of being a very transparent company. So in our email report, we show why certain emails bounced. So when an email bounces, you can go into the report and view the bounce message that happened. And a lot of times, I shouldn't say a lot of times, but sometimes you'll see a bounce message that says, unfortunately, your mail wasn't delivered because XIP was blocked, or XIP has low reputation, or whatever else. And so there's a whole array of reasons why this could happen. Sometimes it's an erroneous block from Microsoft or some other ISP. They'll simply just block the IP. We'll ask them to delist the IP, and then they respond to us that they're delisting the IP. And we've tried to ask several times, why was this even blocked in the first place? And unfortunately, we just don't get any insight. But in most cases, I say that tends to be what happens. So we'll get a block from Microsoft saying that this certain IP was blocked. We go to delist it, and then Microsoft just responds back saying, hey, your IP was delisted. Everything should be going through within 24 to 48 hours because it takes a while to propagate in their system. There are other cases where IPs get blocked due to people sending to an old list, for example. Because when you send to an old list, the chances of getting spam complaints is higher because you didn't send email to them for a while. All of a sudden, you're sending an email and they didn't remember consenting or opting into that email. So then they end up reporting your email spam, or really high unsubscribe rate. But all that contributes to the IP reputation. So there are some cases where people will send to old lists, or they go against what we allow and try to send to bad email addresses, which if that happens, we do suspend those accounts. But yeah, so if you see that an IP was blocked, just know our deliverability team is on top of it. We are monitoring this stuff continuously. We have a report that lets us know as soon as an IP is blocked or has a lower reputation. But yeah, if you see those messages, it's most likely due to an accidental block by an ISP, or we're having an issue with a certain IP, but we are addressing it. So we're always on top of that.
Yep. And so that suspension that Derek was talking about on those accounts, we won't automatically suspend your account. So that's one thing different with us compared to most of the other ESPs out there. One of the reasons, because we're a smaller ESP. Second reason is just because from a business perspective, we just don't agree with that. So we like to always get in touch with people first. But it's a balancing act, because we want to get in touch with people, but if you don't reply fast enough and you continue to send out email that causes problems for other people that are also sending out. So that's why we don't want to suspend the account, but in some cases we may have to, but we're always going to respond. So even if your account is suspended, just send us a ticket through support and we'll respond. We're going to talk to you, and we're going to make sure that we can get the problem addressed and activate your account again. Or in some cases, we just can't. We can't activate the account again. Most of the time, though, that's just because either it's a purchase list or it's somebody that's just not responding to us. So we're just not going to activate those accounts at that point. But anyway, yeah. I mean, our transparency is, we're as transparent as they get. And so we are showing all those details of those blocks. And yes, we get blocked just like every other ESP, that is out there. Every ESP gets blocked IPs. Some of those, everybody's using AI now. Sometimes those AI filtering tools are off. They learn the wrong thing, and so then they have to correct it, learn the right thing. So there's just a lot of issues with that. It's an ongoing process. I guess it's job security for our deliverability folks, because there's always stuff going on. But anyway, and we do handle all that internally. We don't have anybody external. We own all of our own mail servers. We do everything ourselves. So So that's something, if something happens, reach out. But these blocks are always temporary. Never, ever are they permanent blocks where it'll just never happen again. If we ever run into anything like that, then we just take that IP out of circulation. We don't use that IP anymore to send. So long answer to that question. So the next question is, if I switch from sending from a subdomain instead of using my base domain. So, the case of people using their base domain and they realize, oh, I probably shouldn't be using that. So you go to a subdomain. So the question is, do I need to warm up my sending domain again? Technically, yes. It really kind of depends on how many emails you're sending per day. So if you're sending over 5,000 emails a day, yes, you need to warm that up. And even if you're sending less than 1,000, it's always a good idea to warm it up. So, and what we mean by warming is just, if you've got a list of 10,000 contacts, your first day using that new subdomain instead of your base domain, that first day using that, maybe only send out to 1,000 people and do that for a couple days. And then if your deliverability is good, you don't see any issues going on with primarily soft bounces. So if you don't see anything going on with soft bounces, then you can increase, and you increase slowly. So if you're going for 10,000, that's your contact count, maybe ramp that up over a week's time and stay as consistent as you can. So if you can send every day, great. That's the best way to do it. But if you can't send every day, send as consistently as possible, warm that up, because even though it's a subdomain to an ISP that's receiving the email, they're still looking at it as its own domain. So you're going to still want to warm that. So hopefully that helps. Anything you needed to add to that, Derek?
No, I think that all makes sense.
All right.
It's definitely that's definitely come up in support with our new domain validation and just our new domain options, because a lot of people want to move to the new CNAME to just have that alignment properly set up. So just if you do that, just keep in mind you should be warming that new subdomain, or else you might see some deliverability issues come up.
Yeah, because we're finding more people are like us and want those badges. So the more alignment you get, the more badges you get. So people are interested in that. Plus, I think more so they just want good deliverability. But anyway, so next question: can I customize the throttling of email going out through through my account? Short answer is no. Long answer is we do the throttling. So we take care of that throttling. I won't go into all the details of it because it is fairly technical. If you ever have any questions about it, you can reach out and we can talk to you one-on-one about that. But we handle all of that throttling ourselves. So we make sure that per domain that you're sending to and per IP address that it's sending from, that we make sure that we're only sending out the amount that is going to be allowed by that ISP, whether it be Yahoo or Gmail or Microsoft or any of the other ones out there. So, but as far as you being able to throttle your own, you're not able to do that right now. However, if you decide that you want to have more control over that, you need more control, one of the things you could do is you could go with a dedicated IP. If you go with a dedicated IP, then we won't give you access to control that throttling, but you can ask us questions and we can work together to come up with a very customized throttling approach for your custom IP. So especially a lot of our enterprise customers that use dedicated IPs or pools of multiple dedicated IPs, we do a lot of custom stuff for them. And so that we can do for you as well. So we can definitely work on that. But for a smaller account, I'd highly suggest don't go with a dedicated IP. We make more money, but it's not a benefit to you. It's actually a detriment to you, because if you only have one dedicated IP and that IP gets blocked, you're not sending from that. You're not able to send email to, let's say, Microsoft if they blocked you. If you only have one dedicated IP and it gets blocked from Microsoft, that means until that block is removed, you're not able to send to Microsoft domains. So the short answer is no. You can't do the throttling yourself, but you can work with us and we can talk to you about that. Last question we
Yeah.
have. Let you answer this one, Derek, but how can I add context to my audience and skip the double opt-in process?
Yeah. So I don't know if you guys saw my face go white and dark, but it's because I was trying to get my screen ready for this question. So if you want to show my screen, yeah. So this is a question that comes up because obviously people want to, and we encourage people to enable double opt-in. But when you want to add a contact, let's say it's an internal contact to your company, or just a contact that you don't want to go through the double opt-in process, people want to be able to skip that, so they can just add them to their audience and already set that contact as active. And so to do that, well, I'll just first go into, so double opt-in is in audience settings. So if you go into your audience, this one's called vendors, and then go to your settings, then you'll see this card here for double opt-in settings. And here is where you can turn on double opt-in. You can edit the email and do whatever else for that opt-in process. So once that's enabled, if you want to add a contact and skip that process, then in the add contact screen, it's all the way at the bottom, so it's kind of hard to find. But once you put in your standard fields, you put in your custom fields if you have any, GDPR permissions, then finally you'll see a section called Advanced. So in this Advanced section, we have a checkbox to skip double opt-in. So if you have this checked and you add the contact to your audience, then what it will do is just add the contact to your audience and set it to active instead of sending them the double opt-in email and setting them to pending. We also offer this in the integration platforms. So if you're in Zapier, Make, Integrately, Pabbly, there will be an option within the add contact action to also skip the double opt-in. But again, we only suggest using this for people that you know really well, or it's internal to your company, somebody that doesn't need to go through the double opt-in process. This shouldn't be used widely if you have double opt-in enabled, because if you have it enabled, it should be used. So it should only be used for internal contacts and just, people you know.
Yeah.
So,
All right. So it's kind of all the questions this week. So the questions are kind of low this week. I blame that on the fact that I'm hoping it's because our system is rather intuitive, and it helps you out. But we did kind of hide that double opt-in there, to be able to skip that double opt-in. We did kind of hide that, and we know we did that, but we did that on purpose because it's not something that should be widely used. But if you need it, you need it, and that's why we have it under the advanced options. So it's there just in case. But with that, last thing when I wrap things up here, so I want to mention our affiliate program. We've got a great affiliate program. It works well. It's a great way for you to add an additional revenue stream to your current business. You can easily log into Tarvent, even under a trial account. You can log into Tarvent and you can apply for the affiliate program. The benefit with us is that you don't have to have a paid account. And in fact, we'll give you a sandbox account that you can log into. It costs you nothing. It gives you every feature. And the purpose of that is so if you're creating videos or whatnot that shows people how to use the Tarvent platform, then you'll have a full account that you can do that with. It does limit some capabilities, especially on the sending side, and how many contacts you can have in the system. So there are some limits to it, but other than just those count limits, all the features are there. So it's a great program. We have several people that really enjoy using it, and so just remember that if you do want an additional revenue stream, go for it. Just log in, apply. And Derek's got that up there on where you can go. So apply for our affiliate program. We check out a couple things to make sure everybody is on the up and up, and then we'll approve you. And it usually takes no more than one business day to do that. So we get things going pretty quick there. Otherwise, as usual, we want you to like and subscribe on YouTube. We want to make sure that you're able to get notifications of our webinars. We have webinars every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. We go over our blog. We answer any questions you have, no matter how weird they are. Well, in some cases, maybe not. But, we'll answer any questions you have about us, why we started the company, things about the platform, things about marketing strategies, whatever you have questions on, reach out, ask us questions, and we'll make sure to discuss those on the webinar, as well as when you ask them, we might answer those through support as well. So anyway, like and subscribe us, fill out the form, ask the questions that you need to ask. Follow us on all the different social media channels. We post our blog, we post different information on those, and that's how you can stay in the know about Tarvent and what we're doing and the new features that we're releasing and that sort of thing. So make sure you do that. And then our next blog is going to be next week, Tuesday the 13th at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. And we look forward to seeing you then.
Yeah. Thank you guys for watching.
Yep. We'll talk to you later.